Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel. You know me, I'm Rachel. This is my husband Andy, and we have been married now legally for about 13 months. We got married July 22nd last year, 2019. I asked you guys on Instagram and YouTube if you had any questions for like a first year of marriage Q&A, and you guys really delivered. I have around 40 questions and we will not be answering all of them. We will be answering 7 questions in this video and then 6 more questions in a part 2. Part 2 will cover whether or not we have dual citizenship, how the world feels about me being married young, because I was 23, now I'm 24, and some other things we'll talk about in part 2. But for part 1, we have 7 questions that we will dive into now. I'm sorry that we couldn't answer everyone's question, but a lot of people also just asked like relatively the same thing. So let's begin. 1 year married, 1 year of marriage later, Q&A. Question number 1, if not for visa reasons, when would we have naturally gotten married? Because we did get married when we did. We got married because we love each other, but we got married when we did because I was either going to have to be on an F series visa or be deported, basically, like leave Korea. And being long distance again was not a choice. So we got married when we did for me to stay in the country with you. So if that didn't need to happen, when would we have naturally gotten married?
I think I propose you this year, maybe fall, because we like the season, like fall season, like under the leaves, brown leaves. I propose you.
So we would have been engaged in 2020 anyway, but with worldwide issues right now, the wedding would not have been planned until 2021, probably. Question number 2. Would I have stayed in Korea if Andy didn't want to leave? And I took this question to mean like, if Andy was like, I'm not leaving my home country, I will not go back to America with you, I am in Korea forever. A bug literally just flew into the ring light and killed itself. Did you just watch that happen? I will say I have always wanted children, and the very first night I ever slept over at Andy's apartment, I asked if he wanted kids, and if he would have said no, I would have broken up with him. Luckily, he does want kids with me, but I don't want to raise kids in Korea. I just think the quality of childhood is better outside of Korea. Not that the US is doing too hot right now, but I would rather raise kids there than here. And if I had come back to teach and whatever, and he had said like, hey, I want to be with you, but I'm not leaving the country, that would have, to me, been not choosing between him and not having him. That would have been choosing between kids and not having kids, because raising kids here really isn't an option for me. So no, if he never wanted to leave Korea, I think I would have broken up with him and moved back to the US. But he does want kids.
That's very serious.
It's, yeah, very serious.
Well, that's really mean. Suddenly I feel that's so mean though.
Why is that mean? Why is that mean?
I don't know. You said like I've been broken.
Yeah, if you didn't want kids,
Okay.
I would have broken up with you.
Okay, but that's not gonna be happening.
Right. That's that's not what happened. We both agreed to raise kids in the US, not here. So that's why we're married, and I'm fine living here right now. I want to make it clear, I do like living here right now. I have no problem being in Korea right now. I'm actually much happier that I'm in Korea instead of the US right now. I would, 10 out of 10, would rather be here than the West right now in the world. So
safer.
I just want to make that clear. I'm happy to be in Korea now, but long term, we'll go to the US to have kids.
Yeah.
I've already said that. Let's move on. Number 3 is interesting. Do you have any obligations as a wife to a Korean man? I will say that I think I have less pressure because I'm not a Korean wife, but also your aunts have never asked me to wash a dish until after we got married. And then after we got married, suddenly it's like, why doesn't Rachel help wash the dishes?
But there is something is tricky there. You are like willing to do something and you said like, oh, can I do this? But the Korean says first of all, Korean says like, oh, it's fine, you should stay.
Oh yeah.
But it's very, very fake. It's very tricky. You have to like.
But then I feel awkward like,
whoa.
what do you want from me? What do you really mean?
Yeah. But Americans do that? Do you do that?
It depends on the family. My family's really direct. So like my mom will come into the room and be like,
okay.
Rachel, clean the dishes. What are you doing?
Oh.
So that's what I grew up with. So when your aunts are like, oh, just sit down, I'm like,
And my mom
okay,
too. And
I'll sit down. If that's what is that what you want? Is that what you all want? I think in any culture, it varies family to family. But Andy's family is not super traditional or super conservative.
Yeah.
So I think I'm held to a lower standard than Korean wives in very traditional Korean families.
And I think somehow you're excused because you are a foreigner.
Question 4. How does it feel to be married for a year?
I feel like the same. At the time we like made a document, we were staying together, right? I feel like we're staying.
Moving in together was the big thing that felt different in the relationship. But since we were already living together, getting married for us was just the difference of the government knowing that we're together, you know? Like, it really didn't change anything about our daily life. But I think for religious couples or other circumstances where you can't live together until you're married, or you won't live together until you're married, that probably creates more of like the, it's so different, wow, change. But there was really no change in our lives. So 1 year of marriage later, we're still just like the same people living the same life.
But it doesn't mean we are bored or
Right.
like sick of marriage life, right?
Could you imagine after 1 year being like, that's enough, I'm bored?
But we look forward to our wedding ceremony because we have like 2 chances.
Yeah, 2 chances at a wedding. Number 5, how did our families react to us saying that we were going to get married?
I think my mom expected a little bit.
I'm sure
Like,
she did, yeah.
Yeah, my mom always said like, your happiness is my happiness.
My mom was just so beside herself and upset at first, only because we couldn't have the organic process, like the surprise proposal and then everything else. Our families are totally fine with us being married, and if anything, they were upset about how it had to happen, but they weren't upset about us being together at all, really. 6, the first time we thought each other could be the one, or soulmates. This was like the number 1 question you guys asked in like a million different ways.
I think I recognized, or I thought, Rachel is the one for me after we made it our long distance. Maybe that's the moment. Maybe the airport.
At the airport?
Yeah.
Really?
Maybe that's the first time.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh.
You look so tired, but you look so beautiful.
Thanks! Oh, I know that's not true, but thank you. Did you just hear a cat meow?
Yeah.
Our local street cats are insane. Anyway, I remember the first night I slept over with you in your apartment and we fell asleep and I was smiling so hard, and I remember thinking like, is this the happiest I've ever been? And I won't say that that was the moment I knew he was like the one, because that was really early on in our relationship, and I think you need at least a couple months of being with someone before you're like, oh my god, the one. But I would say also just after we closed the distance, and especially after we moved in together, and just every time, or most of the time I guess, not every single night, but most of the time when I fall asleep with you, I am smiling. At least when we like first get into bed and we're like cuddling up, I'm so smiley and I just feel so calm and at peace and happy. Like, it's just such a natural smile that's on my face like almost every night when we go to bed. And like, yeah, after 5-10 minutes we roll over, we're not cuddling anymore, like we're hot or something, and like I'm not smiling, I'm just like, oh my god, why can't I sleep? But when we first get into bed, just that I'm like so happy and naturally smiley to be cuddling you, I'm like, I want that feeling forever, like every night to just feel so calm and at peace being with you. I'm gonna dribble a little bit and shoot a little like truth hoop. That was real dumb, I'm not gonna say that. But
What could you mean?
I just want to say, I do not believe in the one. I believe in multiple soulmates for different reasons, and I believe in life partners, but I do not like the phrase and I do not get behind the one. I just feel like it's so toxic for girls especially, but like people in general, to grow up with this idea of like the one soulmate, and it's so romanticized, but like it just feels like if you don't find that immediately, you're gonna be like searching forever, and when does the search end, and when do you find that perfect one person? And maybe for some people they really do feel that, but for a lot of people they really don't, because the perfect person doesn't exist. So I mean, I consider some of my friends at home to be like soulmates of friendship. Like our spirits just recognize each other. And I know that I will have that relationship with that person for my whole life. Andy is just like one of my life partners. That's what I want to say. Like I recognized really early on in the relationship that he would make a great life partner.
Yeah, but I don't believe in soulmate, but I agree with your life partner theory.
Thank you. Well, you don't believe in like destiny and things like that either.
Right.
Yeah. So.
No offense.
Yeah, no offense. But I do believe in life partners over like the one. Anyway, moving on. Last question. So the 7th and final question, just to kind of like lighten up the mood a bit and wrap up part 1 of our first year of marriage Q&A. Are we considering pets? If so, are we cat or dog people? I will say that I have had cats my entire life. I have also had fish. My dad used to be really into like this big fish tank that we had. And I had one family dog that we had for 10 years. Andy never really had like a family cat or dog, but you had a couple of other like little pets.
Well, I had like goldfish and turtles, and then I had the buck. I don't know the English name though.
They're big, and you also told me that you would go out and like find frogs outside as a kid and bring them in and try to just like keep them in the bathtub, but your mom would come in and be like, no. Take this back outside. But in terms of whether or not we're cat or dog people, I love them both equally. I'm both a cat and a dog person.
I prefer the cat, maybe.
I think you would do really well with a cat. I think you would love having a cat. But we talk about getting pets all the time. I wish we could get a pet, but I don't want to put them through the stress of flying back to the US. Like I don't want to deal with moving a pet. I don't think that's fair to pets unless you've had a pet for like 5 years and then you need to move. Like that's fine, but it just doesn't feel right knowing that we will eventually move to put a pet through the whole flight thing. So we won't get a pet in Korea, but as soon as we get like a house or like a stable place in the US, we are getting a pet. Probably a cat first. Or who knows? I don't know. Maybe we'll get a dog first. I don't know.
Maybe you'd get an otter first.
Andy really wants an otter. I'm pretty sure illegal. I also want goats, which are legal.
What about hens?
Hens? Chickens? I would do chickens.
I used to plan have barns.
Yeah.
My own barns.
Our own barn. Okay everyone, so that's it for this part 1 of our 1 year of marriage Q&A. Part 2 will deal with the question of dual citizenship and the reaction of people finding out that I got married young at 23, which I guess is still considered like young. So look forward to part 2. And yeah, can you guys hear the thunder? We need to go grocery shopping. Yep, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in part 2. Bye-bye! Should we wait to see if the rain stops?
So casually keep diving.